From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Tuesday, March 7th, 2017. Silver is trading at $17.74 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,226 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 1.7 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $1,266. Antiwar.com reports heavy U.S. airstrikes that began Thursday and continued through the weekend have not yet halted, with at least one strike reported on Monday, with the drone strike destroying a car and killing both people within, labeled suspected terrorists, though both were burned beyond recognition and unidentified. On the other hand, we finally do have one identified victim among the flurry of strikes in the past 5 days, with reports that former Guantanamo detainee Yasser al-Silmi was slain. Officials say they think he was part of al-Qaeda, though they say he was not a high-value target. It is still unclear why the U.S. launched this sudden flurry of attacks, though Pentagon officials maintain that the targets were all selected before President Trump's inauguration and had nothing to do with the failed January ground raid in the country. Yemeni officials say they believe the operation will be sustained and open-ended, though the dozens of strikes reported on Thursday have been reduced to just a couple a day over the weekend and, by all accounts, just one on Monday. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports the United States Supreme Court decided Monday that the presence of racial biases during jury deliberation have the potential to violate defendants' constitutional rights, and in those circumstances, jurors' secret deliberations must be reviewed by the court. Addressing an issue at first pondered 3 years ago, the Supreme Court said courts must order verdict reviews in cases where it is established that deliberations may have been tainted by racial prejudice. Such biases, the court said, can violate a defendant's Sixth Amendment right to an impartial jury. The 5-3 vote was made in the case of Miguel Angel Peña Rodriguez, a Colorado man convicted of 3 misdemeanors for allegedly groping 2 teenage girls in 2007. Jurors acquitted him of felony sex assault but convicted him on lesser counts. After the trial, it was claimed that one of the jurors had expressed negative racial views about Hispanic men during deliberations. Justice Anthony Kennedy wrote for the majority in Monday's ruling, saying, "Racial bias implicates unique historical, constitutional, and institutional concerns, and if left unaddressed would risk systemic injury to the administration of justice. A constitutional rule that racial bias in the justice system may be addressed, including in some instances after a verdict has been entered, is necessary to prevent a systemic loss of confidence in jury verdicts." Samuel Alito, John Roberts, and Clarence Thomas voted against the majority opinion and said Monday's ruling was too broad and resulted from a flawed constitutional analysis. They pointed out that it does not say anywhere in the Sixth Amendment that a defendant's right to a fair trial is rooted in a bias-free jury. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports President Donald Trump signed a revised executive order on Monday banning citizens from 6 Muslim-majority nations from traveling to the United States, but removed Iraq from the list after his controversial first attempt was blocked in the courts. The new order, which takes effect March 16th, keeps a 90-day ban on travel to the United States by citizens of Iran, Libya, Syria, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. It applies only to new visa applicants, meaning 60,000 people whose visas were revoked during the previous order will now be permitted to enter. Immigration advocates said the new ban still discriminates against Muslims and failed to address some of their concerns with the previous order. Legal experts said it would, however, be harder to challenge because it affects fewer people living in the United States and allows more exceptions to protect them. Trump's original January 27th executive order sparked chaos and protest at airports where visa holders were detained and later deported back to their home countries. It also drew criticism from targeted countries, Western allies, and some of America's leading corporations before a U.S. judge suspended it on February 3rd. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.